Welcome back, mortals and myth maniacs. Last time, we saw Heracles wrestle a lion so tough, it made ordinary weapons look like toys. And somehow, that victory earned him not one, not two, but 50 wives. But that was just the warm-up. The real chaos came after Hera struck again. She messed with Heracles' mind, drove him mad, and he slaughtered his own family. Brutal. To atone, he went to Delphi, to Apollo's temple, where the oracle Pythia delivered the divine verdict. Serve King Eurystheus, take on impossible challenges, and maybe earn redemption. Which brings us to the swamp of Lerna, home of the Hydra. The Hydra wasn't just a giant snake. It was the ultimate nightmare noodle, massive dripping poison, and rocking multiple heads like a death metal band. Heracles arrived with club and bow, probably thinking, I'll smash a few heads, easy win. Wrong. He chopped one head, and two sprouted back instantly, like the monster was running a head multiplication business. Imagine mowing the lawn, and every blade of grass grows back double. That's Hydra. Most heroes would have rage quit right there, not Heracles. He kept swinging, flinging mud and snake guts everywhere, like a maniac trying to beat a broken machine back into working. The swamp turned into a loud, chaotic carnival of hissing, screaming, and sludge. Enter Iolaus, his nephew, the most overworked, unpaid intern in mythology. While Heracles was chopping away, Iolaus grabbed a torch and burned the stumps, sealing them shut. Suddenly, Hydra's head regeneration hack was offline. Hera wasn't done trolling. She sent in backup, a giant crab. Picture this. You're fighting a regenerating poison noodle, and now seafood claws at your ankles. Heracles stomped it flat without missing a beat. Hera, being petty, tossed the crab into the stars as the constellation Cancer. Finally, the immortal head. Couldn't burn it, couldn't kill it, so Heracles hacked it off, shoved it under a giant boulder, and called it a day. Hydra, deleted, but he wasn't finished. He dipped his arrows in Hydra's blood, turning them into biological nukes. From that moment, every shot he fired carried instant death. Talk about an upgrade pack no one asked for. If this happened today, he'd be charged with biological warfare, reckless fire use, and destroying protected wetlands. Any health inspector would faint just walking onto that battlefield. But in Greek mythology, they called it innovation. So Hydra was gone. The swamp stank of burnt seafood, and Heracles walked away covered in mud but unbroken. One insane showdown behind him, and many more monsters still waiting. After Hydra turned into a swamp barbecue nightmare, you'd think Heracles would finally get a day off. Nope. King Eurystheus, still shaking like a manager who knows his intern is stronger than him, threw out the next mission. Bring me the Erymanthian boar. Alive. Sounds simple, right? A pig? Maybe some roast pork? Wrong. This wasn't farm bacon. This was pigzilla. The Erymanthian boar was enormous, the size of a small truck, muscles rippling under its bristly hide, tusks sharp as swords, and an attitude like it had been insulted by the entire village. Farmers hated it because it ruined crops. Villagers feared it because it trashed gardens and stomped fences. This thing was basically a four-legged demolition machine. Heracles, the man who had never heard of take a vacation, grabbed his giant club and started chasing. It looked like hunting, but really, it was the most chaotic workout program ever invented. Forget gyms. Heracles had cardio, weights, and endurance training all in one, with an angry monster pig as his personal trainer. And the boar was fast, terrifyingly fast. Imagine trying to catch a runaway shopping cart rolling downhill on ice. That was Heracles versus Pigzilla. The chase tore across forests, rivers, and rocky mountains. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Finally, snow blanketed the peaks, and the mighty boar slipped. Its hooves skidded, it slammed into a snowdrift, and for the first time, Pigzilla was stuck. Heracles pounced like a man who had been waiting all year for this, wrestled it down, and tied it up with ropes thicker than a sailor's nightmare. The strongest man alive, soaked, frozen, dragging a squealing mountain-sized pig down from the snowy hills. But the comedy wasn't over. Delivering it to Eurystheus was the real punchline. See, Eurystheus was no warrior king. He was basically a frightened clerk who happened to have a crown. When Heracles arrived hauling the furious living boar, Eurystheus didn't clap, didn't cheer. He screamed. Then he did what legends say he always did when scared. He dove headfirst into a giant storage jar. Yes, the king of Mycenae hid in a clay pot like a toddler playing hide-and-seek. After chasing down Pigzilla, Heracles probably thought, well, at least the next quest can't be worse. Wrong. His boss, King Eurystheus, gave him a new mission. Bring me the Ceryneian hind alive. Sounds harmless, right? A deer. How bad could that be? This wasn't a regular deer. This was Artemis's golden super pet. Its fur gleamed like sunlight on polished gold. Its antlers glittered like jewelry. And it could outrun anything. Horses, chariots, even your car stuck in traffic. The catch? It was sacred. Touching it meant picking a fight with Artemis, goddess of the hunt, one of the last people in the universe you want mad at you. So Eurystheus basically said, go steal a goddess's pet. Don't hurt it, don't kill it, and don't die trying. That's like telling someone, hey, go grab a tiger from the zoo, return it alive, and oh, don't piss off the zookeeper with the shotgun. But Heracles just sighed and got moving, because when your resume already says lion slayer, hydra burner, pig wrestler, what's one sparkly deer? This wasn't a quick hunt. The hind had divine turbo speed. The second Heracles spotted it, it bolted across meadows, rivers, forests. It just kept running, and Heracles chased it. Day after day, weeks turned into months. The seasons rolled by like background filters. Spring flowers, summer heat, autumn leaves, winter snow. And still, Heracles was out there running like a sweaty action figure. Villagers saw him sprinting past and probably thought, is that guy still chasing the same deer? Didn't we see him last month? Finally, one dawn, he found the hind pausing by a river. Sunlight hit its golden coat, making it glow like living treasure. Heracles knocked an arrow, not to kill, just to slow it down. The arrow grazed its leg. The deer stumbled, and with one massive leap, Heracles tackled it, arms locking around the divine animal. Victory, or so he thought, because right then, Artemis showed up. Imagine an angry goddess, bow glowing, eyes burning, radiating "you stole my pet" energy. This was every angry mom moment dialed up to Olympian levels. Heracles froze. He knew fighting her was impossible. So instead of flexing muscles, he used words. Rare for him. He explained, it's not me, it's my boss. He sent me. I won't harm your deer. And, shockingly, Artemis listened. Maybe she respected the hustle. Maybe she knew this was divine paperwork nonsense. Whatever the reason, she let him take the hind to Eurystheus on one condition. It had to be returned unharmed. So Heracles carried the golden deer, exhausted, sweaty, but alive, straight to Eurystheus. The king panicked as usual, probably imagining the deer breaking loose in his palace and Artemis showing up to sue him personally. And that was the quest. Not a bloody fight, not a monster showdown, but a year-long test of patience, stamina, and diplomacy. Heracles had barely finished chasing the golden deer when King Eurystheus waved him over with another brilliant assignment. This time, not lions, not snakes, not a pig the size of a house, no birds. Heracles blinked. Birds? Seriously? But these weren't the kind you roast on a spit. These were the Stymphalian birds, monsters the size of small airplanes. Their beaks were bronze, sharp enough to pierce armor. Their claws were knives, and their feathers? Each one was a flying dart, sharper than steel. The people near Lake Stymphalus lived like prisoners. Go outside to fetch water. Shh! A feather slices past your ear. Cows gone, fields ruined, whole families hiding indoors, while the sky rattled with metallic screeches. Heracles arrived, chuckled at the idea, then looked up. The sky turned black with wings, the air filled with a storm of bronze feathers. He stopped laughing. Normally, he would just smash things until they died. But how do you punch 100 airborne monsters? Not even his muscles could swing that hard. He needed help. Athena and Hephaestus showed up, handing him a pair of bronze clappers. Heracles stood by the lake, raised the clappers, and smashed them together. The sound boomed like rolling thunder, shaking trees, rippling the water, and rattling the birds right out of their nests. Suddenly, the air exploded. Thousands of wings beat the sky into chaos. Bronze feathers rained down like a storm of arrows. Heracles braced, drew his bow, and fired back. Thwip, squawk, crash. One by one, the monsters dropped from the sky. Steel-feathered bodies hit the ground with heavy thuds. The survivors panicked, screamed, and bolted over the mountains, never to return. Heracles gathered a fistful of deadly feathers, marched back to Eurystheus, and dumped them at his feet. The king stared, wide-eyed. "You fought birds?" Heracles smirked. "Not birds, monsters with wings." Heracles thought he had seen it all: lions, hydras, killer birds. But King Eurystheus wasn't done being creative. His next brilliant idea? Cleaning a barn in one day. Yes, a barn. At first, Heracles probably thought, finally, something normal. This will be easy. But nope, this was no ordinary stable. These were the Augean stables, home to thousands of cattle that hadn't had their mess cleaned in 30 years. We're talking mountains of waste piled up like skyscrapers. The smell could travel across borders. Clouds of flies swarmed like storm fronts. The ground was a swamp, the walls practically built from layers of filth. This wasn't a barn anymore. It was a legendary, ecological nightmare. Everyone knew it was impossible. Farmers nearby laughed, not even with 10 lifetimes. But Heracles wasn't about to spend 20 hours with a shovel. He hated chores more than anything. So he came up with a plan, so crazy it might just work. Reroute 2 rivers to do the cleaning for him. He smashed open the banks of the Alpheus and Peneus rivers, dug massive trenches, and unleashed a flood straight through the Augean stables. Imagine a roaring tidal wave blasting out the other side, flushing everything away like nature's ultimate power wash. By sunset, the stables were spotless. Floors gleamed, walls shone, the stink was gone. It looked less like a barn and more like a 5-star bovine resort. Heracles dusted his hands like, done. Next. Of course, drama followed. King Augeas, the guy who owned the stables, had promised Heracles a reward. When he saw the miracle, he tried to back out of the deal, claiming it didn't count because Heracles used rivers instead of raw manpower. Classic shady boss move. Heracles didn't forget. Later on, he came back with arrows dipped in hydra poison and made sure Augeas regretted ever crossing him. But for now, the labor was officially complete. Heracles wasn't just muscles with a club. He was basically the original never give up meme. His labors showed insane persistence, brute strength, and just enough creativity to prove he wasn't a total meathead. Every crazy task carried some deeper meaning: redemption, fighting against impossible odds, and smacking down monsters that symbolized chaos itself. That's the beauty of these myths. They're not just about smashing monsters. They're about consequences, karma, and sometimes the gods giving you a hand or just trolling you for their own entertainment.